A very warm welcome to you all. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. And today I'm really excited to moderate this beautiful panel we have with us. And before we begin the discussion, the insightful discussion on tea on table, culture, craft, and commerce, before that, I would want my panelists to introduce yourself, a brief introduction from all of you about yourself and your brand. So we'll begin with Kazim.
Hello, good afternoon. Thank you for having me. My name is Kazim Samandari. I am the co-founder and executive chairman of L'Opéra. This is a chain of French bakery and pastry operations, which is based currently mainly in Delhi NCR.
Hi everyone, my name is Chef Gauri and I'm the founder and owner of a company called Confect, which means anything that's made with sugar. So what we do is we manufacture about 800 products, the largest in the country as of now, the only one to export. And you would find them in bakeries, hotels, teaching academies with home bakers. So anything that you need to decorate a cake with is something that we make.
My name is Samantha Kocher. I am the managing director of the Blossom Kocher group of companies. And of course, we come from the beauty industry. But there is a segment of ours, which is, it's around 8 years old, which has gone into food. And beauty, wellness, food is something that our brand is solidly looking into. And we started with a small vertical called the Tea Room, the Blossom Kocher Tea Room. And now we are number 14 in Asia with that brand. And there's another one that's coming up very strongly with us is By Terra, which is in packed food. And that's what I manage and we are moving towards. So nice to be here with my wonderful panel and all of you here.
Hi, I'm Gaurav Kanwar. I'm the founder of Harajuku Tokyo Cafe and Bakehouse. We started off small 4 years ago with Delhi NCR and we've now recently launched in Mumbai, looking forward at making Japanese food accessible, affordable and palatable across the country. Thank you.
Thanks, Gaurav. So now, moving on with our discussion about tea on the table, I have a common question for the entire panel. As we talk about tea and coffee culture in India, it has evolved miraculously. Like I would say, I've seen like from the baristas to cafe coffee days to many international brands. Now we are hovered with, so many brands in India and it is doing very well. The numbers which in the morning Pratima was telling that next 10 years and we see India on the, top for having the best coffee houses in the world. So with tea and coffee, which we know is deeply rooted in our tradition, but each one of you is pushing the boundaries with innovation at your brands. So what does modern tea and coffee culture mean to you and your brand? We'll start with you, Kazim.
I would like to give a small precision to your statement. It is true that India is the country known for tea. And I would like to say that the coffee culture is relatively new. And there is a transition happening, particularly within the younger generations, that they are adopting coffee, not instead, but at least on top of their tea culture. So this is, we are totally in this evolution. And usually the way it happens is that usually people, they start with instant coffee and then they start brewing the coffee at home and then they go outside and have coffee in coffee houses. So it's important to see how this whole thing can evolve. And that's why we have the optimism that this market is going to grow. And besides optimism, it's a truth. The numbers show that there is, particularly in the coffee sector, we have an annual growth rate which is between 12 and 14%, which is huge. Now, what is happening, in my humble opinion, is that it's not just the coffee, but it's the experience. And this is where we have placed our own activities. And we believe we are not the only ones, but others. So it is the atmosphere, it is the coffee, it is the decoration, it is the music, it is the smell, it is the whole ceremony of enjoying coffee, which makes it different. And that's where I believe it is, although we do also deliveries, home deliveries, but it's not the same thing if you receive a cup of coffee in a paper glass delivered at your door, or you sit down in one of our outlets or other people's outlets and enjoy your coffee, seeing what's happening around you.
Thank you. Thank you for your suggestion. Yes, over to you.
So I want to address the topic around tea. And coffee's always been there in desserts for the longest amount of time, but tea is something that is just blown up. So of course we've been seeing matcha that has surfaced of late, but there's also tea like hojucha, which is unbelievable. It's just a process of further drying out and fermenting tea leaves. And the flavor is fantastic. I had the privilege of tasting some the other week, and I was so excited to experiment with it. Having said that, tea pairs unbelievably beautifully with pastry. So what it does is it gives it it cleanses your palate as you eat. So what it does, it allows you to taste the depth of flavor, and you can have a lot more. It also gives you connectivity and a more luxurious experience, because you can actually tie tea in different ways to different kinds of pastries. In the US and in England as well as in Japan, there's tea cultures already very prevalent in the pastry world. Earl Grey is one that's used a lot. Matcha is actually one of my least favorite ones. It's actually the old heritage teas that really work beautifully with pastry and give it that depth. So I think it's a match made in heaven. I think the only way it's going to go is up. However, I do think that as opposed to only sticking to stuff that comes from maybe Japan or the other parts of the world, there's so much that India has to offer, which beautifully pairs with our traditional pastry. And then let's not forget, we've always had chai and biscuit, right? So it's always been that kind of combination, and it's been in our heritage forever. So we're just taking it to another level going forward.
Thanks.
So basically, my family comes in from the tea estates and coffee estates from South India, and so before we even entered beauty, we were already. I grew up on estates, and there was a ceremony. There was a lot of ceremony attached to drinking your coffee in the morning or having your tea in the evening. And I have another thing is that I'm Eurasian. A Eurasian person is I have Indian origin. But from my maternal side, that's my mother, I'm part Portuguese, part English and Irish. And so I have a lot of mixed lineage happening. And with the mixed lineage and, we are expats, 3 generations living in the southern hills of India from the Nilgiris. So tea became a time when we all cousins and family used to actually gather around and have our tea. And, we used to have the English style life, because my grandmother was English. It used to be the 3-layered, tea ceremony that used to happen. And the cooks in the old tea estates used to create eats with it. And I remember when I came back to North India, where my father comes from, we only had chai. But, the brewing of tea was not such. There was a ceremony, but you'll have the pakoras and you'll have everything happening in the evening. And when it came down to actually opening something and naming something that we wanted to create for our customers, when they'd have their spa treatments, we came up with the name, the Tea Room. And the Tea Room actually specializes in a lot of different teas. And we have the Nilgiris teas, we have tea, like what we just heard is there's so much of Indian teas that can be offered to your consumers. And the whole process of what goes with the tea and that experience, what we were talking about is what the Tea Room, we decided to give it. If you come to the Tea Room, it's like, very old wooden floors, very rustic walls, beams. It looks like a kitchen. And that's where I had my tea, and that's how the tea room looks like. So we decided to give that. And also about the coffee, like when you come from the estates, the coffee was brewed by the servants, by the housekeeper first thing in the morning. So when coffee is as much a staple for an Indian as much as I feel tea is. And a lot happens over chai. You know, relationships are made, divorces happen, and we come out about our deepest secrets. And I think it's not the booze, but it's the chai that does the magic for us Indians.
Superb.
I think even with the way this panel is going on, there's a large audience, and there's an audience for every type of an experience and every type of a tea or a coffee for that matter. I feel tea is no longer the same humble, simple drink that it used to be in India and even in Japan for that matter. It's being rediscovered, reimagined, and we've got an audience from the purist that would want to experience a pure Indian tea or a single origin loose tea leaf to the trend savvy consumers who are more interested in beverages like a matcha, hojicha, or even artisanal boba teas for that matter. So I think tea is now tea is being used as an ingredient, as an experimental ingredient across chefs, across mixologists, and there's a lot of play that is happening in tea and coffee both.
Thanks. So, moving on to the discussion further, Kazim, I have a question for you. What are the recent innovations at La Opera which you've incorporated in your business, for your business growth in the next 5 years? Like the recent, because everybody's incorporated AI, digital, and tech is used everywhere. So at La Opera, what are the recent innovations you've incorporated in your business for the growth?
Your question is wide. It's not necessarily just about tea. So, or you're asking you want me to give also a broad answer. Yes?
Definitely.
Okay. So I think from our perspective, the most recent innovations that we are implementing is to add a very large offering of eggless French pastries. And this, I must say, it's a very, very difficult task because we are known for authentic French products.
Yes.
And coming with authentic French products without using egg, that's a tall order. But I am delighted to say it depends always on the creativity of your executive chefs. And we have a fantastic executive chef. And just recently, we introduced the eggless millefeuille, which in my opinion is even tastier than the regular millefeuille, which uses eggs. There is, that's one area that is, so it is eggless products. And then we have the increased use of locally available fruit. It may sound something very normal, but this season we had one particular product which was very, very hot selling. It is a mango shaped. We call it. It is Alfonso. It's called Alfonso pastry, and it is sold out every day within hours. So you can take existing fruits, existing ingredients, and innovate and make something which is really, really very special. And the last one, the innovation. You know, I don't believe that you have to be always creating everything from nothing. You can also bring an idea which has been created somewhere else. That's how Japanese did it, by the way. A lot of Japanese products, also industrial products, they are not innovative by their own, but they take an idea and they improve it and make it better than the original one. And one of those things that we have introduced, which is also an extremely successful product, it is the L'Opera interpretation and version of the famous Dubai Kunafa chocolate, which is really, it is extremely successful. And by common judgment, it is almost better than the original.
Okay.
So
yes.
same question?
No, I have a different question for you. So, because you being, an expert as a chef and so as a pastry chef and creative food stylist, as you were just mentioning, how do you see tea influencing or inspiring dessert design and sugar artistry today?
Oh my God. Okay.
So, because it's a combination of, tea and your expertise in dessert.
Absolutely. So, I'm going to fill in a few blanks here. In addition to being, I was previously a French trained pastry chef, and now I'm a full blown mad scientist. So, I'm a food technologist. And when I can't find a solution to something, I just make it. And that's how it's always been from the first day. Tea of late is something that I've become very fascinated with. Whether it's in, and I actually like it in its powder form. So, either spray dried or freeze dried in some way, because that will enhance what I need for it to do in pastry as an application. And like I said, that desserts have always internationally had tea from as long as I can remember. When I was studying in the UK, their tea, which is traditional over there, is always, pastries and tea served together. And I think that's where India is coming to now. More than that, I think tea has also been glamorized by the whole, iced tea, isn't it? Not the iced tea, but like the iced latte tea or the iced masala tea, which is also going to come in cans very soon. So it's going to be something that's going to be running off the shelves. Masala chai has been a part of, I think, every Indian restaurant's pastry menu in some form or the other. And what I really liked was the innovation that they did with the powders, because that made it really easy for us to bring it into pastry, and it really maintained the texture as well as the stability of pastry. Tea itself is very difficult to do. And in fact, I was researching last night, and thanks for having me, because it got me thinking about tea as a product and what I could do for the bakery world. So I'm actually working on a line of tea-based syrups now, which no one has done. And I've always been ahead of the time. So imagine if you had a green tea flavored syrup. It would really cut down cost, it will cut down production time, it will cut down anything that can go wrong, which pretty much does in a kitchen most days. And similarly with matcha, Earl Grey, Assam, Darjeeling, there's so much to do. So I'm really excited because that's where I'm heading with the syrups at least. And that can go into your pastry, your mousses, it can go into your cakes, fillings, frostings, you name it. And the second thing is that the powders. So I saw this really cool video where you just take, you can infuse tea powders into chocolate. So he was talking about doing kunafa and the Dubai chocolate, but how about really coming up with, imagine like a masala tea flavored chocolate with a filling in it. I think it'll be really nice because it's going to go really, really well with how a well-paired chocolate will be. And that's what I'm all about now. So I'm imbibing these tea powders into chocolate as well. So these are the two massive things that I see coming in the next 3 or 4 years. And I actually want to be the first one to dip my toe in this.
All the best for that. I'm sure it's going to be a very rocking startup. Okay, moving on to you, Samantha. So as we all know that Samantha has brought the sensory world of tea, beauty and interiors together at the tea room. So how do you curate an experience where tea is not just consumed but actually felt? As Kazan mentioned, we all feel the experience emotionally, physically and aesthetically. So how do you balance that holistic wellness with indulgent food pairing in your menus at the tea room?
So the interesting thing about that came through for us was that when we came down to just designing the space of tea room, and my fiance actually did that. He's made Kobani, he's created all these top restaurants. And when I told him that you need to create the tea room, he said, this is too small, and it was very sad for me. But then the whole thing was, he said, what is it that you want? I said, I want something that's extremely cozy, extremely, you don't get scared sitting there. You can spend time there and you feel like you've come back home. And then that's when he started creating. So the sensory aspect of the whole tea room is that it's a very unhurried place. You can actually spend time there. You can talk. And I have to share a small little story if I can. It'll just take me a few minutes. But I remember once coming in and the manager coming up to me and saying, this kid has come out there with his grandmother and he wants Milo. And I said, we don't serve Milo. We are the tea room, for God's sake. We have coffee. Why don't you make him hot chocolate? He said, no, he wants Milo. So then, and without any, I said, okay, go to the market, get Milo. And because it's a child, so we got the Milo. And then grandmother came up to me and said, thank you so much and everything. And then she said, can we come next weekend? I said, for sure, you can come and we'll. So when he came in next weekend, it was the Milo and we make scones and jam and he ate that. And then the grandmother came up to me and thanked me and she said, this child lost his father and mother in an accident. This is the only place he feels at home. And that's when it hit me that, the tea room is a place where emotions and, there's a kind of a feeling that it invokes. And it's wonderful for me as a brand to, create something really upscale because I can. But I don't think that this brand or this part of our business has that. And that's where if we have to recreate the tea room, when I've looked at it, it has to have that same unhurried feeling of slow living. And the other aspect is how do we do the food pairing? I come, as I told you, from the estates. I come where, we made our own butter, we made our own cheese, we made our own jam, we baked our own bread. And that's the same thing that happens with my old grandmother's recipes that tea room is running on. Everything is made in-house and my pairing is very, very simple. I do not, the tea room has nothing very fancy. Of course, the chefs came in and they brought in the cheesecake and the basque because that is what it is. But in September, what is new that's coming up in the tea room, it's very, very old, 100-plus-year-old recipes that are coming in which have been in our family, and there'll be around 6-7 of them, which is what we remember as children and cousins having. So that will be something that we are offering in the future.
That's amazing. So moving on to you, Gaurav. Your cafe is at the forefront of youth-centric food culture. So how did boba tea become such a breakout success, especially in your concept? And what's your approach to integrate playful formats like the new menu with authentic culinary storytelling, especially from Japan and beyond, like from across the globe?
I think at Harajuku, we just didn't want to serve regular drinks. We wanted to be at the forefront of what people, especially the younger generations, experience when it comes to tea or any other beverage or food for that matter. And the reason I think the boba tea became a breakout for us was because it's playful, it's customizable, it's fun, and yet it's social. So we make sure that we weren't just offering people some standard teas, boba teas or drinks off the shelf. We made a menu wherein people could customize everything from their level of sugar, level of ice, and the tea blend that they would want to use in a boba tea. Consumers are very well aware of what they're consuming. Even the younger generations, they know exactly what an oolong, what a jasmine or an Assam black tea may be. And they enjoy creating different combinations even when it comes to boba tea. I think that's the differentiation we got around, and when we started off, it was a huge success for us. And when it comes to maintaining authenticity while making it a fun Japanese playful brand, I think Japan has two parts to it. One is the perfectionist part, which is staying true to the roots, authenticity, recipes, traditions. Yet it also has a very playful, loud, and a pop part that I thought was missing in India. And we as a brand have always tried to strike a balance between the two. So at the perfectionist ethos, we stick to it through our storytelling, through our sourcing of ingredients. And in terms of being playful, we are playful with our recipes. We're serving everything from a matcha, hojicha, to even a wasabi cortado for that matter.
What's that?
So it's a cortado infused with wasabi, and we've got many such experiential beverages on the menu now.
That's super. So it is actually very inspiring to hear such names. You feel like you crave for all these, concoctions. So, building on the discussion further, where do you all see the next big disruption coming from in the tea and cafe industry? Is it in the ingredients, presentation, or as he mentioned, experiences? So anyone can take.
My first pick is going to be ingredients.
Sure.
I think it's going to blow up. It's already blown up globally, so India is just catching up. It's not a matter of is it going to happen. It's a matter of when is it going to happen and who's getting there first. And the second one is experience. So like Blossom said, Samantha said, everything about the experience of chai. You know, I have employees who say, "Sar dard ho raha hai, agar main chai pee lungi, to mera sar dard chala jayega." You know, it goes back. It's so deep it's so deeply envisioned in our being on a day-to-day basis that sometimes we don't even stop to think about it. I'm not really a tea drinker, but I'll tell you a secret. I like masala chai mostly, the one that's made at home. And I never have hot tea. Like, I never get the chance. The cup is there, it's on my table, and eventually it becomes iced tea. And suddenly I developed a taste for it. So I just said, chai banao, usme barf dal do and give it to me in my flask. And I'm enjoying it because it's still giving me the taste of what I want. But I elevated it to something that was for me. And I think that's the future when it comes to product. Everyone's exploded with the iced teas, right? So if you go to any quick commerce, you'll find, I think, at least 20 kinds of coffees that are out there. So many. And I think tea is the next one. So already on most cafe menus, you see iced tea latte, iced latte tea or something. And I don't think they do justice to it, frankly. I think we really do it better. So I better work on those syrups. But like I said, from an ingredient perspective, as well as an experience perspective, like what he's doing, I think he's the first person I've heard of say hoji cha. And I'm really excited about that because I haven't heard this word from another person other than me. And when I say that, people look at me a little oddly. So I'm happy that, if he's bringing it in, it's already out there. So it's just a matter of penetration and how fast we get it done.
Thanks. No? To you, Samantha. The same question.
So for me, I think the future has, there's going to be a little more personalization that's going to take place. Everything, I'm not even talking about not about the tea industry. I'm talking about even from the perspective of the beauty industry and the wellness industry that we are in. Is when you are making a product, like for example, if in our brand, when we have a product like a moisturizer, there's always a pre-made fragrance put in. But the future is where you choose your fragrance and in front of you, it's put in, mixed and given. And that's the future of our shops also. The personalization of food, whatever is happening is for surely there on the cards. But more importantly too, the other thing is what we all of us have said is the experience. How good is the experience zone? How do I feel? What am I gaining out of being in this? Am I gaining peace of mind, or am I gaining, what is the emotional quotient am I getting out of this experience? What is the intelligent quotient I'm getting out of this experience? Have I learned something new have my taste buds gone to the next notch by having X amount of food, or at a particular zone? Like if I go to his place, I've learned something new. So the intelligence zone, though, is increased for the brain. The emotional aspect is something that people are looking that experience. And the next experience that people are actually looking at, which we call it, is the spiritual experience. No one realizes, but eating food, drinking something, even tea, is actually got, for especially us Indians, there's a spiritual quotient to it. And the spiritual quotient is not that, suddenly you're going to get enlightened, but there will be a point of enlightenment. Oh God, I can do this. Something, as we say, dimag ki batti khul jati hai Hindi mein. So when we are creating something in the future, please also know that the consumer that is coming through now is a very different consumer that was there. It's not the millennial, it's the Gen Z. And this is a very different consumer. And in the next 10 years, there will be another consumer, another kind of consumer. And so what they are looking for is what we need to feed into.
Thanks. So I really like your thought, especially on the spiritual question. Okay, so for Kazim, as we were just talking, that La Opera has the store number has reached to 18 pan India now. 18, right?
Yes, it's 19. It's mainly NCR. Yes,
Yes. Yeah.
yeah.
And now your expansion is also on the cards, right?
Yes, we are adding another 5 in Delhi NCR, and we are working on a on a more ambitious plan to add another 250 pan India, and perhaps another 100 overseas. Yes.
Oh, that's amazing. So, are you any business format in your mind, like any plans of switching on to either a franchising format or any other business model?
I have to be careful because this is franchise France Corp who has organized this event. So, no, we have made a strategic decision to develop all our business ourselves and to all company owned, and it has to do it has to do with the economics.
Sure.
We put the additional margins, we spend it on the quality of our ingredients. So there is not another layer of margin available to add another economic actor who would be the franchisee. So economically it does not make sense. So we have to develop it ourselves. And in terms of format, after now we are 14 years of operation, we have these 2 formats, one which we call boulanger pâtisserie, which is mainly bakery and pastry with a very limited 10, 12 seats that you are mainly like a bar format, and you can have quickly a cup of coffee or something like that. And then we have the other one, which we call we use the French name Salon de Thé, which translates tea room, and where we have full kitchen. And I was listening to the presentations which were done before. Everything is prepared fresh. Everything, every item, with an emphasis on very, very unique French products. Like, for example, the onion soup. I think nobody else does the French onion soup the way it is done in l'Opéra outlets, or some specialities like croque monsieur and croque madame. These are real specialties. And since we are vertically integrated, again, it was mentioned by in the previous session, I think one of the most important elements is that, for example, we produce our breads ourselves. So even if you do the same recipe of croque monsieur with an industrial bread, it will never taste the same thing like we do. May I also answer, although it's not my question, to the previous question that you asked? May I have also my opinion quickly? I believe one of the things that is going to happen in India is one of the most important elements is the lifestyle change. And this will influence the cafes, the tea rooms, and everything. We have 2 markets. One is very experiential, unique, very limited numbers, 3, 4, 5, etc. And then if you look, you have to look in societies which have gone through this period. If you, it's less Japan, because that's again very different. But if we look, for example, South Korea, there is a brand there which is called Paris Baguette. And they have 3,700 outlets in South Korea. And just in the city of Seoul, 3,000 outlets of one brand. And the only reason why it's like that is that people have moved. They don't have time. They have to grab a sandwich. They have to grab a high quality product. They have to grab their drink, etc. So I believe we are moving also in India. As the lifestyle change, the younger generation, the professionals, less time, etc. So these 2 things are going to happen. One deep and the other one broad.
Absolutely, I agree. I second his thought that the upcoming trend is gonna be this. So, coming to you, Gaurav, how are you scaling or adapting your product innovations for multi-location growth? formats, like you've just moved to Mumbai, you said opened a store there, without losing that quality or story behind the product?
Again, I think I'm also going to repeat some of the points that Mr. Kazim and the previous session said. We also don't rely on any outsourcing at all. We've got a massive central kitchen wherein we're producing every single thing from bread to all our broths, all our curries, all our sauces in-house. And we've established a supply chain network that helps us maintain the best quality without any preservatives, without any ingredients which would affect the taste or quality of the product. And in terms of how we are going forward with expansion is, again, India is moving towards a very quick trend. We do need grab and goes, we do need fresh stuff off the shelf. So we are expanding across two formats. One is our restaurant and cafe format, which is the Harajuku Tokyo Cafe. At that format also we've established a conveyor belt concept wherein food is fresh and available on the conveyor belt all through the clock.
Thank you. So high.
Is it okay with you now?
So we've launched one of India's first conveyor belt concepts where food is available round the clock on the conveyor belt. It's all fresh foods.
No, we can hear.
And we've just opened our outlet at BKC at Geo World Drive, which is a very corporate friendly area, and we're seeing a very high influx of all corporates coming in for the conveyor menu. We at the other forefront, we've also started the Harajuku Bakehouse format, wherein it's an express format, and we have grab and go counters. We've got everything from an edamame to a Japanese wrap and Japanese sandos, all available as a grab and go. And at the moment, we are already at 7 outlets. We're opening another 15 by the end of this year, and we're ambitious to take Harajuku as a brand all across India and then global.
So with this, we conclude the session here. And I must say that it was actually a very insightful session. And we conclude by saying this, that tea business and coffee business, it's all about experiences. It's all about experiences. So thanks for being here.